Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Education Hub. Buddhism is one of the best things that originated in India, and today Buddhism has spread far and wide into the world, becoming the fifth largest religion, followed by almost 500 million people. In this video, we will talk about Buddhism and discuss in details about Buddhism as a philosophical school of thought. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel and help us to grow more so that we can bring more and more helpful videos for you. You might already know that Buddhism falls under the Gnostic schools of thought in the Indian philosophical system. That means Buddhism doesn't believe in the teaching of the Vedas as the supreme source of knowledge. If you have missed our video on the Gnostic schools of Indian philosophy, you can click on the link at the top of your screen to learn about the division of the Indian philosophical schools into Gnostic and Astic. Before we can learn the philosophy and epistemology of Buddhism, we must learn about the origin of Buddhism. Buddhism started in India over 2600 years ago against the predominant corrupted practices of Hinduism and gradually became a way of life that had the potential of transforming a person. It is one of the important religions of South and Southeast Asian countries. The religion of Buddhism is based upon the teachings and life experiences of its founder Siddhartha Gautama, born in 563 BCE. Siddhartha Gautama is also known as the Great Buddha. So, Siddhartha Gautama was born into a royal family of the Shakya clan who ruled from Kapilvastu in Lumbini, which is situated near the Indo-Nepal border. At the age of 29, Gautama left home and rejected his life of riches and embraced a lifestyle of asceticism or extreme self-discipline. After 49 consecutive days of meditation, Gautam attained Bodhi or enlightenment under a peepal tree at Bodh Gaya. So Bodh Gaya is a village in Bihar. Buddha gave his first sermon in the village of Sarnath near the city of Banaras in UP. And this event is known as the Dharma Chakra Pravartana, which means the turning of the wheel of law. So after gaining his enlightenment, Gautama was called as Buddha. Everyone recognized Gautam as Buddha. So Gautam Buddha, he died at the age of 80 in 483 BCE at a place called Kushinagar, which is a town in UP. This event of his death is also known as Mahaparinibban. Now let us look at the primary concepts which are accepted by Buddhism. The first concept upon which the philosophy of Buddhism is built is the theory of the impermanence of existence. And Buddhism says that wrong knowledge about the impermanence of existence leads to dukkha, which is suffering. The principle of impermanence of existence is built on the simple fact that everything or everyone shall die or face death one day. It encourages us to not get too much attached to the world of objects and keep accumulating wealth, because in the end we must all die and leave our wealth behind. The second principle upon which Buddhism is built as a philosophy is the doctrine of non-self. The doctrine of non-self does not believe in the permanence of soul. So we can very well say that the doctrine of non-self is a philosophical concept which says that soul is not an immortal being and a soul cannot take a rebirth. Therefore, it is evident that doctrine of non-self rejects the concept of the cycle of birth and rebirth as propagated by Hinduism. The third principle upon which Buddhism builds its philosophy is the doctrine of momentariness, and this means that nothing is permanent. The doctrine of momentariness accepts the simple fact that everything or everyone in this world is susceptible to change and will change with time. And that is why too much attachment to any kind of worldly object or any person can lead to dukkha, which is suffering. And the final principle is the karmavad, which means that salvation is to be achieved by working. The past experiences has no effect on the present existence. Karmavad believes that no matter how horrible our past deeds are, if we can rectify our present behavior, then we are definitely eligible to achieve salvation. And this salvation or liberation is to be achieved by working for it. We have to work hard and we have to control all our negative thoughts and emotions in order to achieve salvation. So these are the primary concepts upon which the philosophy of Buddhism is built. We will look in depth into the philosophy of Buddhism and try to understand more about Buddhism as a school of thought. Now let us talk about the Four Noble Truths or the Arya Satya. Lord Buddha taught his followers the Four Noble Truths or the Arya Satya, which he realized after his enlightenment. These noble truths or the Arya Satya is believed to be the primary teachings of Lord Buddha. The Four Noble Truths are the truth of suffering, which is dukkha, the truth of the cause of suffering, which is samudaya, the truth of the end of suffering, which is called as nirodh, and the truth of the path that leads to the end of the suffering, which is known as the marg or the eightfold path. Now let us talk about the Four Noble Truths or the Arya Satya in details one after the other. The first Arya Satya, that is the truth of suffering or dukh, tells us that all forms of existence are subject to suffering. For Buddha, it is a universal truth. All known and unknown facts and forms of life are associated with suffering. Birth, sickness, old age, death, anxiety, desire, and despair, all such happenings and feelings are based on suffering. Buddhism recognizes suffering at three levels. The first level is dukkha dukkhata, the suffering we experience in our daily life, like birth, sickness, old age, death, despair, pain, desire, etc., are associated with dukkha dukkhata. The next level is samkara dukkhata. Here, the suffering caused by the internal mental conditions and the activities of the sense organs are taken into consideration. And the final level of suffering is the viparinam dukkhata. And here the sufferings caused by the impermanence of objects and our relation to them is taken into consideration. The second Arya Satya, which is the truth of the origin of suffering or samudaya, says that everything in this cosmos has a cause and nothing exists and happens without a cause. If this is the case, suffering should also have a cause. Therefore, Buddhism explains suffering through a chain of 12 causes and effects, which is commonly known as the doctrine of dependent origination or Pratyatta Samutpad. These are the sufferings associated with past life is avidya, which can be translated into ignorance, and samskara, which can be translated into predisposition. Then we have the sufferings associated with the present life, which are Vijnan, which is the suffering related to consciousness, Namrup, which is the suffering related to name and form, Sadayatna, which is the suffering caused because of the sense organs, Sparsh, which can be translated into contact related sufferings, Vedana, which is the suffering caused to us because of our feelings or sensations, Trishna is the suffering which is related to craving, Upadan, which is the suffering because of attachments, and then Bhav, which is the suffering caused to us because of the process of becoming. And then comes the sufferings associated with the future life, which are Jati, that is the suffering related to birth, and Jarmaran, which is the suffering related to old age and death. So these are the classifications of suffering or dukh as per Buddhism, which falls under the second Aryasat, that is Samudaya. The name of these sufferings is very important because we can get a chronologically match the following based questions based on these. The third Aryasat, which is the truth of the cessation of suffering or Nirodh, says that if suffering has a cause, the seeker has to destroy this cause in order to stop suffering. Which means that we as individuals need to find out the cause of our suffering and we should destroy that cause in order to attain absolute freedom or liberation. Because without doing that, we will be constantly evolving in the same cycle of life and it will stop us from attaining a greater calling or a sense of liberation for ourselves. And finally, we have the fourth Aryasat of Buddhism, which is the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering, which are commonly referred to as the Eightfold Path or the Ashtang Marg. In Buddhism, the Ashtang Marg is also referred to as the Dukh Nirodh Marg. This Marg, that is the Dukh Nirodh Marg, talks of the ways to destroy suffering consisting of the practice of the Eightfold Path. That is, in order to eliminate suffering from our life, there are 8 virtues that we need to practice in individuals. And in practicing those virtues, we will start to eliminate suffering from our life. The first virtue that the Dukh Nirodh Marg or the Ashtanging Marg talks about is the virtue of right view, which is referred to as Samyak Drishti. It consists of the grasp and acceptance of the Four Noble Truths, rejection of the faulty doctrines, and avoidance of immorality resulting from covetousness, lying, violence, etc. So, Samyak Drishti, in short, talks about the fact that we as individuals must accept the Arya Satya, that is the noble truths of Buddhism, and other than that, whatever we have learned or whatever other ideas we have about life or living a very luxurious life, we should give up those ideas. We should absolutely reject those ideas and we should avoid any sense of immorality. Because immorality will cause us to become more covetous. And covetous means that we will start to accumulate wealth which we do not need. We will become very greedy and we will become very jealous. And in trying to accumulate all this wealth, we will have to lie or we will have to resort to the ways of violence. So, all this is to be avoided, and at the same time, we have to accept the Arya Sat, that is the truth related to the sufferings, the Four Noble Truths which is taught by Buddhism under Samyak Drishti. Then we have the second virtue, that is the virtue of right aspirations or thought, which we also refer to as Samyak Sankalp. It implies thought on renunciation, thought on friendship and goodwill, and thoughts on non harming. So, under Samyak Sankalp, we talk about renunciating all the worldly pleasures, that we give away all the wealth that we do not need. We try to help others who are in need with whatever accumulated wealth we have. And we try to have a sense of goodwill for humanity and for every living being. And we try to become very friendly. We try to develop good friendships and we become good friends. And at the same time, we never entertain the thought of harming anyone. This is what is referred to as Samyak Sankalp. The third virtue is the virtue of right speech, which is referred to as Samyak Vakya. So, Samyak Vak, it inspires one to speak truth primarily and to speak gently and of the well being of others. That is, our speech should never be hurtful to anyone. No matter how hurtful people are to us, we must always speak gently to them in return, and we must always speak of all the good things and of the well beings of others, and should never use bad words or bad connotations in our speech. The fourth virtue is the virtue of right conduct or action, which is also referred to as Samyak Karma. The Buddha intends by right conduct the practice of five moral vows, namely not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, not to misuse sex, and not to consume alcohol or other drugs. So, by maintaining these five moral vows, these five moral promises, we as individuals will portray right conduct, which is known as Samyak Karma. The fifth virtue is the virtue of right livelihood, which is referred to as Samyak Ajiv. So it consists of the avoidance of a luxurious life and the acceptance of occupations which do not involve cruelty and injury to other living beings. In order to develop Samyak Ajiv, we as individuals should give up the habit of leading a luxurious life and try to live a very simple life. And at the same time, our livelihood should not be dependent on any occupation which hurts other people. The sixth virtue is the virtue of right effort, which is known as Samyak Vyam. It includes the effort which acquire positive values like attention, energy, tranquility, equanimity, and concentration, and the effort to maintain the right conditions for a meritorious life. Right awareness or Samyak Smriti is the seventh virtue under the Ashtanga mark, and it represents the awareness of the body, that is the breathing positions, movements, impurities of the body, etc. Awareness of our sensations, that is being attentive to the feelings of our own self and the feelings of others. And at the same time, a sense of awareness of thought and the awareness of the internal functionings of our own mind. And finally, the eighth virtue under the Ashtang Marg or the Dukh Nirodh Marg is the virtue of right concentration, which is referred to as Samyak Samadhi. The practice of one-pointed contemplation leads the seeker to go beyond all sensations of pain and pleasure and finally to full enlightenment. So over here, the seeker is the individual who is looking for enlightenment or who is looking to achieve Buddha or to become liberated. So this person needs to become fully focused and try to contemplate at one point without any kind of involvement from the outside world. And by doing this, this individual who is the seeker will be able to finally become fully enlightened. However, in order to practice all these eight virtues, we must remember one thing, that one has to avoid extremes and follow the middle path. That is, we must not become extremely involved with all these virtues and force ourselves to do it or force others to do it. Buddha always believed in the practicing of the middle path, in being away from the extremes of being too much positive or being too much negative, and always leading a life which is very neutral and which is very simple, away from any sort of controversies. Because by doing that only, we will be able to maintain the peace of our own mind, which is very important in order to lead a good life, which will one day result into achieving enlightenment or Buddha. Now we will talk about the three universal truths. So along with the four noble truths, Gautam Buddha also recognized three universal truths. And these three universal truths are, the first one is, nothing is lost in this universe, which means that everything that we do, every actions that we do has a reciprocating value and it remains within this universe, which is known as the karma cycle, that is the cycle of our own karma. The second universal truth is the fact that everything changes, which means that with time, everything is susceptible to change. Everything and everyone is susceptible to change according to time. And the third universal truth is the truth of the law of cause and effect, which simply means that every action has a equal and opposite reaction. So whatever energy we put out into this world will finally find a way to come back to us. And this is what was believed as the three universal truths which were accepted by Gautam Buddha, and it was subsequently taught in all of his sermons as well. Now we will discuss about the five percepts or Panchsheel. So Buddha also established a code of conduct both for the monastic order and the laymen to follow, which is also known as the five percepts or the Panchasheel. So basically Gautam Buddha developed a code of conduct for everyone, and this code of conduct was to be followed by both the people who were the monks and also the common people. So these Panchasheels are: do not kill, do not steal, do not lie, do not misuse sex, and do not consume alcohol or other drugs. So by following these five steps, which is also referred to as the Panchasheel, a person would be able to develop a very healthy and nice lifestyle, which will result into all positive things coming into the life of that person, and because of that the person in due course of time will be able to attain liberation or enlightenment. The Buddhist triple jewels are also known as the three treasures, three refuges, or the three ratna. The first jewel is the Buddha. So Buddha is an ideal whom people should imitate and draw a sense of positive willpower from his image of sitting and meditating with self-control and mindfulness. Therefore, Buddha is a teacher. Buddha plays the role of a teacher in the life of every individual. The second jewel is the Dharma. So Dharma is the total of Buddhist teachings about how to view the world and how to live properly. And the final jewel is the jewel of the Sangha. The Sangha is the community of monks and good people, which means that every person should stay in the contact of good people and should not associate with bad people. So these are the three jewels of Buddhism, which is a very important concept under the philosophy of Buddhism. The three baskets of Buddhist knowledge is called Tripitaka in Sanskrit and Pali. So basically, Buddhist literature is referred to as Tripitaka. The first is Vinaya Pitaka. It consists of the rules of conduct and discipline applicable to the monastic life of the Buddhist monk. The second is the Sutta Pitaka, which is the main teachings of Buddha. It is divided into five Nikayas or collections. The five Nikayas are Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and Khuddaka Nikaya. The third of the three Pitaka is the Abhidhamma Pitaka, and it is a philosophical analysis and systematization of the teachings and the scholarly activities of the other superior monks of the Buddhism. Now let us look at the various schools of thought which fall under the Buddhism. The first and the major school of Buddhism is the Mahayana school. The term Mahayana is a Sanskrit word which literally means great vehicle. So Mahayana is called Mahayana because it was believed to be a great vehicle through which the teachings of Buddha would travel far and wide into the world. So Mahayana believes in the heavenliness of Buddha, an idol worship of Buddha, and the bodhisattvas embodying Buddha's nature. It originated in northern India and Kashmir and then spread east into Central Asia, East Asia, and some areas of Southeast Asia. Buddhist schools embedded in China, Korea, Tibet, and Japan belong to the Mahayana tradition of Buddhism. The second most popular school of Buddhism is the school of Hinayan. Hinayan literally means the lesser vehicle, or it is also known as the abundant vehicle. It believes in the original teachings of Buddha or the doctrine of the elders. It does not believe in idol worship because primarily Gautam Buddha himself was against the concept of idol worship, and it tries to attain individual salvation through self-discipline and meditation. Theravada, about which we will talk next, is a subgroup of the Hinayana group of schools. The third school of Buddhism is the Theravada. Theravada is the school of teaching of the other senior monks. So the teachings, the thoughts and the ideas of the other senior monks who are associated with Buddhism are taken into consideration under the Theravada school of Buddhism. Theravada remains closest to the original teachings of Buddha. Theravada Buddhism developed in Sri Lanka and subsequently it spread to the rest of Southeast Asia. It is a dominant form of religion in Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Sri Lanka and Thailand. Vajrayana means the vehicle of the thunderbolt and is also known as the Tantric school of Buddhism. And Vajrayana is the fourth most important school of Buddhism. It is a school of spiritual practice which enhances the spread of Buddhism in the entire world. It developed in Tibet and gradually it grew into Bhutan, Sikkim, Nepal and Mongolia. So these are the four most important schools of Buddhism. Before we move on and quickly revise about whatever we have learned through this video, I would like to request you to please like this video if you find it helpful and to please subscribe to this channel in order to show us your support. So what we learned in this video is that according to Buddhism, nothing is permanent and existence is the soul of all sufferings. Its supreme purpose was to achieve liberation from suffering through the renunciation of desire known as nirvana. And Buddhism believes in the life of karma and the cycle of life and death. So this is all for Buddhism. Please stay tuned and watch our next video on Jainism. Please like and subscribe to the channel and show us your support.